Who was Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the man who seemed to contain entire worlds within his mind? A poet, a scientist, a philosopher, or something greater, a universal spirit that defied definition? Born in 1749 in Frankfurt, Goethe lived in an age of revolutions, political, artistic, and intellectual. Yet he was never fully bound by any of them. His genius flowed across boundaries, from literature to science, from art to metaphysics. In his lifetime, he became a symbol of the complete human being, a man who sought truth not just through reason or emotion, but through harmony between the two. As a poet, he gave us Faust, one of the greatest works in world literature, a story of ambition, temptation, and the eternal search for meaning. As a scientist, he explored color, plant life, and natural laws, challenging even Newton's theories. And as a thinker, he created a vision of humanity deeply connected to nature, art, and spirit. Goethe's mystery lies in his unity, how he could be both rational and romantic, disciplined and passionate, human and almost divine in his curiosity. He saw the world as a living organism, a web of beauty, law, and transformation. Was he a poet who thought like a scientist, or a scientist who felt like a poet? Perhaps Goethe was both and more. He remains one of history's rarest figures, a man who not only observed life, but became part of its rhythm, expressing the eternal dialogue between knowledge and the soul. That is the mystery of Goethe, not to be solved, but to be experienced.
Johann Wolfgang von Goethe was born on August 28, 1749, in Frankfurt am Main, a thriving city in what is now Germany. He came from a well-to-do family that valued education, culture, and refinement. His father, Johann Caspar Goethe, was a strict and disciplined lawyer, while his mother, Katharina Elisabeth Textor, brought warmth, charm, and a love of the arts into the household. From a young age, Goethe displayed extraordinary curiosity. He eagerly read classical texts, explored poetry, and showed a fascination with science and the natural world. His father encouraged discipline and academic rigor, ensuring Goethe studied Latin, Greek, and law, while his mother nurtured his imagination and emotional sensibility. Growing up in Frankfurt, Goethe was surrounded by the vibrancy of urban life. The city's commerce, social diversity, and cultural activities exposed him to a wide range of human behavior and experiences, which later became a foundation for his understanding of society and character.
Goethe's education was a combination of rigorous academic training and exposure to the ideas of both classical and modern thinkers. From an early age, his father, Johann Caspar Goethe, ensured that he received instruction in Latin, Greek, and law, believing that mastery of the classics was essential for a cultured life. At the same time, Goethe was drawn to literature, philosophy, and the natural sciences. He eagerly read the works of Homer, Virgil, and Ovid, absorbing epic storytelling and classical ideals of heroism and virtue. He also engaged with contemporary writers and thinkers of the Enlightenment, exploring questions of reason, individual freedom, and human nature. This blend of influences shaped Goethe's intellectual versatility. He learned to balance logic and imagination, understanding the structures of society and law, while also exploring the depths of emotion, creativity, and ethical reflection. His studies in science, particularly botany, anatomy, and optics, later informed both his literary imagery and his philosophical ideas about nature. Goethe's early intellectual environment encouraged independent thinking. Teachers, family, and mentors challenged him to question authority, explore ideas freely, and develop a personal philosophy grounded in observation, experience, and reflection. By the time he reached adolescence, Goethe was not only well-versed in classical literature and modern thought, but also developing his own voice as a poet, writer, and thinker. These formative years laid the foundation for his future as a towering figure in literature, science, and philosophy.
Goethe's passion for literature emerged early, and by his teenage years he was already experimenting with poetry, plays, and prose. His first literary works reveal a young mind exploring emotion, morality, and the human condition with a sensitivity that would define his later masterpieces. One of his earliest significant works was a collection of poems and epigrams reflecting classical influence and personal introspection. Goethe's writing during this period demonstrates his ability to blend the elegance of classical form with his own imaginative voice, exploring themes of love, nature, and human emotion. In addition to poetry, Goethe began writing short plays and dramas, experimenting with dialogue, character, and theatrical expression. These works reveal his interest in human psychology, social interaction, and moral dilemmas, elements that would later become central in plays like Egmont and Faust. Even in his early writings, Goethe was influenced by contemporary literary movements, including the Sturm und Drang movement, which emphasized emotion, individuality, and rebellion against social constraints. This movement allowed him to explore the depths of personal feeling and the struggles of the human spirit, setting the stage for his groundbreaking works as a young adult. Through these first literary endeavors, Goethe developed the skills, themes, and stylistic sensibilities that would shape his later masterpieces. His early works reveal a poet and thinker deeply engaged with the world, eager to express emotion, question authority, and explore the complexities of life and human nature.
During the late 18th century, Germany witnessed a literary and cultural movement known as Sturm and Drang, or Storm and Stress. This movement celebrated emotion, individualism, and the power of human passion, rebelling against rigid social norms and rationalist ideals of the Enlightenment. Goethe became one of the movement's central figures. His works from this period emphasize intense emotion, personal freedom, and the struggles of the individual against societal constraints. The movement allowed him to explore raw feelings, moral conflict, and the tension between reason and instinct, themes that would permeate his later masterpieces. A hallmark of Sturm und Drang is the focus on youthful rebellion and self-discovery. Goethe's characters often defy authority, follow their passions, and confront societal expectations, reflecting his belief in the importance of individuality and emotional authenticity. The movement valued spontaneity, imagination, and creativity over rigid structure, giving Goethe the freedom to experiment with form and style. Sturm and Drang also emphasized the natural world and human emotion as sources of inspiration. Goethe's writings from this period often intertwine landscapes, seasons, and natural imagery with inner emotional states, highlighting the connection between humans and nature. Through his involvement in Sturm und Drang, Goethe honed his literary voice, developing a bold and expressive style that combined emotional intensity with intellectual depth. The movement not only shaped his early career, but also influenced German literature, paving the way for Romanticism and inspiring generations of writers to follow their passions and embrace individuality.
Published in 1774, The Sorrows of Young Werther became Goethe's first major literary triumph and a defining work of the Sturm and Drang movement. The novel tells the story of Werther, a sensitive young man who experiences intense love, deep emotion, and ultimately, tragic despair. Werther falls hopelessly in love with Charlotte, a woman engaged to another man. His passionate feelings, combined with his inability to reconcile personal desire with social reality, lead him to emotional turmoil. Goethe's portrayal of Werther captures the raw intensity of human emotion, making readers feel the ecstasy of love and the pain of unattainable desire. The novel's publication caused a sensation across Europe. Young readers identified deeply with Werther's sensitivity and longing, leading to a cultural phenomenon known as Werther fever. Tragically, some even imitated the character's suicide, highlighting the powerful emotional impact of Goethe's writing. The Sorrows of Young Werther is also a philosophical exploration. Goethe examines individual freedom, moral responsibility, and the tension between passion and societal constraints. Through Werther, he questions the limits of reason and the consequences of living entirely according to emotion. The novel's success established Goethe as a literary genius and a leading voice of his generation. It showcased his ability to blend personal emotion, social critique, and poetic expression, making Werther a timeless reflection on love, suffering, and the human condition.
In 1775, Goethe moved to Weimar, a small German city that would become the center of his life and career for decades. Invited by Duke Karl August, Goethe took on a role at the court that combined administrative duties with cultural leadership, giving him influence in politics, education, and the arts. At the Weimar court, Goethe balanced practical governance with his literary and artistic pursuits. He worked on legal and economic reforms, advising the Duke and participating in city planning, demonstrating his belief that intellectuals should actively contribute to society. His court life also exposed him to diplomacy, cultural patronage, and the complexities of political power, experiences that informed his later writings and reflections on human society. Weimar became a hub of artistic and intellectual activity under Goethe's influence. He collaborated with poets, musicians, and thinkers, fostering a cultural environment that encouraged creativity, debate, and experimentation. His friendships with figures like Friedrich Schiller and Johann Gottfried Herder helped shape German literature and philosophy, creating what is now known as the Weimar Classicism movement. During this period, Goethe continued to write prolifically, producing poetry, dramas, and essays that explored human nature, morality, and aesthetics. He also deepened his studies in science and natural philosophy, conducting experiments in optics, botany, and anatomy that reflected his holistic view of the world. Goethe's life in Weimar illustrates his remarkable ability to combine art, politics, and science. He was not only a literary genius, but also a statesman and cultural visionary, shaping the intellectual and cultural landscape of his time, while remaining deeply engaged with the moral and social questions that fascinated him throughout his life.
Goethe was not only a poet and playwright, he was also a passionate scientist and observer of nature. Throughout his life, he studied plants, animals, minerals, and even human anatomy, seeking to understand the world through careful observation and holistic thinking. His approach to science was different from the purely analytical methods of his time. Goethe emphasized direct experience, intuition, and the interconnection of natural phenomena.
He believed that nature was an organic whole, where every part reflected the structure and harmony of the universe. This perspective guided his studies in botany, morphology, and color theory, as well as his philosophical reflections on life and growth. One of Goethe's major contributions to science was his theory of colors, in which he explored the perception of color and its psychological effects. Unlike Newton, who focused on the physics of light, Goethe was interested in human perception, emotion, and aesthetics, bridging science and art in a uniquely Goethean way. Goethe's observations of plants led him to the concept of the Urpflanze, or primal plant, an ideal form underlying all plant species. This idea reflected his belief in patterns and unity in nature, showing his fascination with both empirical study and the philosophical principles behind natural forms. By combining poetry, philosophy, and scientific observation, Goethe developed a holistic vision of the natural world, seeing it as a source of knowledge, inspiration, and moral reflection. His studies in nature were not separate from his art. They informed his imagination, enriched his writing, and reinforced his belief in the harmony between humans and the universe.
Goethe's Faust is widely regarded as his masterpiece, a monumental work that combines philosophy, drama, poetry, and moral inquiry. The concept of Faust explores the human desire for knowledge, power, and fulfillment, and the eternal struggle between ambition and conscience. The story is centered on Dr. Faust, a scholar dissatisfied with the limits of human knowledge and experience. Seeking meaning and transcendence, he makes a pact with Mephistopheles, the embodiment of temptation, exchanging his soul for unlimited worldly and intellectual experience. This pact serves as the dramatic and moral core of the work, raising profound questions about desire, responsibility, and redemption. Goethe spent much of his life creating Faust, revising it over decades. The work blends elements of classical drama, medieval legend, and contemporary philosophy, reflecting Goethe's wide-ranging interests and deep understanding of human nature. The themes of Faust, the tension between reason and passion, the limits of human knowledge, and the quest for eternal truth mirror Goethe's own intellectual and spiritual journey. Through Faust, Goethe created a timeless drama that resonates across cultures and centuries. Its combination of philosophical depth, poetic brilliance, and moral insight makes it one of the greatest achievements in world literature, embodying the full range of Goethe's genius as a thinker, artist, and observer of humanity.
Faust Part 1, published in 1808, is the first part of Goethe's lifelong project and focuses on the personal, emotional, and moral struggles of Dr. Faust. Unlike the second part, which is more philosophical and allegorical, Part 1 is immediate, dramatic, and deeply human. The story opens with Faust, a scholar frustrated by the limits of human knowledge, longing for deeper meaning and experience. Dissatisfied with intellectual pursuits alone, he turns to magic and the supernatural, hoping to transcend ordinary life. His yearning reflects Goethe's exploration of human desire, ambition, and the tension between reason and emotion. Faust's pact with Mephistopheles is central to Part 1. Mephistopheles offers worldly pleasures, knowledge, and power in exchange for Faust's soul, presenting the eternal moral question: how far will one go to satisfy desire? This struggle embodies the human confrontation with temptation, ethical boundaries, and the consequences of unchecked ambition. Love and passion play a pivotal role, particularly in Faust's relationship with Gretchen, a young, innocent woman. Their love is intense but ultimately tragic, illustrating the collision between human longing and societal, moral, and spiritual limits. Gretchen's suffering highlights the consequences of Faust's choices, emphasizing responsibility, guilt, and redemption. Part 1 combines poetic beauty, dramatic tension, and moral inquiry, showing Goethe's mastery of character, dialogue, and allegory. It is a vivid exploration of the human condition, examining desire, temptation, and the complex interplay between ambition, morality, and emotion. Through Faust's struggles, Goethe presents a timeless reflection on the boundaries of human aspiration, the challenges of ethical decision-making, and the pursuit of meaning in a world of limitations.
Faust Part 2, completed near the end of Goethe's life and published posthumously in 1832, expands the scope of the story from the personal struggles of Faust Part 1 to a grand, philosophical, and allegorical journey. While Part 1 focuses on desire, temptation, and human emotion, Part 2 explores knowledge, society, and the soul's quest for enlightenment and redemption. In this part, Faust continues his pact with Mephistopheles, but his journey becomes increasingly symbolic. He engages with politics, culture, and human creativity, exploring the broader dimensions of human ambition and achievement. Faust seeks not only personal satisfaction, but also meaning and contribution to society, reflecting Goethe's belief in the transformative power of striving and human endeavor. Faust Part 2 is rich with allegory, mythology, and classical references. From encounters with ancient gods to journeys through imaginative landscapes, Goethe weaves philosophical, spiritual, and ethical themes into a tapestry that examines the human condition on a cosmic scale. It reflects the tension between earthly desires and spiritual fulfillment, between knowledge and morality, and between temporal ambition and eternal truth. Ultimately, Faust achieves redemption. Through repentance, selflessness, and the pursuit of higher understanding, he transcends the limitations of Part 1. The soul's salvation demonstrates Goethe's vision of human potential, that through striving, wisdom, and moral integrity, humanity can approach enlightenment and unity with the divine order. Faust Part 2 is a culmination of Goethe's lifelong exploration of life, knowledge, and morality. It combines poetry, philosophy, and allegory to deliver a profound reflection on the human journey toward understanding, virtue, and spiritual fulfillment.
Goethe was not only a dramatist and novelist, but also a master of poetry, creating lyrical works that combined emotional depth, intellectual reflection, and musical beauty. His poetry spans a wide range of themes, from love and nature to philosophy and social observation, reflecting the full breadth of his genius. Many of Goethe's poems explore nature, capturing its beauty, rhythm, and spiritual significance. Works like Ganymede and Prometheus illustrate his ability to blend personal emotion with mythological and philosophical reflection. Through poetry, Goethe expressed both the joy of human experience and the profound questions of existence. Love is another central theme. Goethe's early poetry, inspired by his passion for women like Charlotte von Stein and Friederike Bryan, conveys intensity, longing, and emotional turbulence. His lyrical expression helped define Sturm and Drang and influenced the romantic emphasis on individual feeling and authenticity. Goethe's poetry also engages with social and moral themes, reflecting on human behavior, ethics, and the search for meaning. He was able to intertwine personal experience with universal insight, making his work both intimate and timeless.
His poetic style combined classical elegance with romantic sensibility. By fusing structured form with emotional intensity, Goethe influenced generations of poets across Europe. Figures in the German Romantic movement, as well as later European poets, drew inspiration from his ability to capture the human soul in verse, blending thought, feeling, and imagination. Through his poetry, Goethe demonstrates that lyrical expression can illuminate the deepest aspects of human experience, bridging emotion, intellect, and aesthetic beauty. His work remains a cornerstone of German literature and a source of inspiration for the Romantic tradition and beyond.
Goethe's work was deeply shaped by classical antiquity, drawing inspiration from the literature, philosophy, and art of ancient Greece and Rome. He admired the balance, harmony, and idealized human forms found in classical works, and these influences are evident throughout his writing. From his youth, Goethe studied Homer, Virgil, Ovid, and Greek tragedians, absorbing their stories, themes, and moral lessons. He admired their emphasis on reason, proportion, and human dignity, which informed both his dramatic and poetic works. In plays like Iphigenia in Tauris and Egmont, he adapted classical forms and ideas, blending them with contemporary sensibilities. Goethe's engagement with classical thought extended to aesthetic philosophy. He explored the concept of beauty, the harmony of nature and art, and the cultivation of moral and emotional refinement through artistic experience. He believed that engagement with classical ideals could guide human behavior and enrich the soul. The influence of antiquity also shaped Goethe's approach to drama and narrative. He embraced structure, clarity, and unity of form, while integrating deep psychological and emotional insight, creating works that honored classical principles while remaining innovative and personally expressive. By studying antiquity, Goethe developed a bridge between the past and his contemporary world, showing that classical ideals could coexist with modern thought, emotion, and artistic innovation. This synthesis of classical inspiration and personal vision became a hallmark of his literary genius and his enduring contribution to Western culture.
Goethe's philosophy reflects a lifelong quest to understand the relationship between nature, humanity, and the spirit. He saw the world as a living, interconnected whole, where observation, experience, and reflection reveal deeper truths about life and the human condition. Central to Goethe's worldview is his holistic approach to nature. He believed that all living things are connected through patterns and processes, an idea evident in his studies of plants, anatomy, and color. Nature was not merely a resource to be analyzed, but a teacher, revealing harmony, balance, and the principles of life itself. Goethe also explored human development and moral growth. He emphasized the importance of striving for self-understanding, ethical behavior, and personal fulfillment. His characters, from Faust to Werther, embody the tension between desire, reason, and spiritual aspiration, illustrating his belief that life is a journey of learning and transformation. Spirit and creativity were central to Goethe's philosophy. He viewed art, literature, and intellectual inquiry as essential for cultivating the human soul. For Goethe, imagination and observation were equally important, merging rational thought with emotional and aesthetic insight. Through this synthesis of nature, humanity, and spirit, Goethe developed a worldview that celebrates curiosity, moral responsibility, and the pursuit of wisdom. His philosophy encourages us to see the world as an interconnected whole, to understand ourselves deeply, and to live in harmony with both nature and our higher aspirations. Goethe was not only a literary genius, but also a dedicated scientist whose curiosity spanned botany, anatomy, and the study of color. Unlike the purely analytical scientists of his time, Goethe approached science with a holistic and observational mindset, blending empirical study with philosophical reflection. In botany, Goethe conducted extensive research on plant morphology. He developed the concept of the urplants, or primal plant, an archetype underlying all plant forms. This idea reflected his belief that nature follows unifying patterns and that careful observation can reveal the essential principles governing life. Goethe also made significant contributions to color theory. In his work, Theory of Colors, he examined the perception of color from a human psychological perspective, emphasizing the emotional and aesthetic impact of color rather than only its physical properties. This contrasted with Newton's approach and highlighted Goethe's integration of art and science. His scientific inquiries were guided by empirical observation, intuition, and a search for harmony in nature. Goethe believed that understanding the natural world required attention to both the visible forms and the underlying principles connecting them. By combining science, art, and philosophy, Goethe demonstrated that empirical study could coexist with creativity and moral reflection. His scientific work is a testament to his curiosity, intellectual versatility, and holistic vision, showing that exploration of nature can deepen both knowledge and aesthetic appreciation.
Johann Wolfgang von Goethe is widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in German literature, shaping both its language and its cultural identity. His work bridged the Enlightenment, Sturm and Drang, and Weimar classicism, establishing standards of literary excellence that endure to this day. Goethe's poetry, novels, and dramas elevated the German language, demonstrating its ability to convey deep emotion, philosophical insight, and aesthetic beauty. By writing in his native tongue rather than Latin, he made literature accessible to a wider audience and helped cultivate a sense of national literary identity. Through works like The Sorrows of Young Werther, Faust, and his lyrical poetry, Goethe explored universal human themes: love, ambition, morality, and the search for meaning, while reflecting the social, political, and cultural realities of Germany. His influence encouraged other German writers, including Schiller, Hölderlin, and Heine, to pursue literary innovation and artistic excellence. Goethe's impact extended beyond literature into philosophy, aesthetics, and cultural thought, helping to define German intellectual life for generations. By combining emotional depth, moral reflection, and technical mastery, he set a standard that shaped the trajectory of German literature, inspiring both contemporaries and future writers to explore human nature and society through art. Goethe's literacy in German literature is not merely stylistic, it is foundational, creating a literary tradition that values intellectual rigor, emotional authenticity, and cultural reflection. His work continues to inspire writers, scholars, and readers, solidifying his role as a national and literary icon.
Goethe's work has inspired artists and musicians for centuries, influencing a wide range of creative expressions beyond literature. His vivid imagery, emotional depth, and philosophical themes have made him a central figure in art, music, and visual culture. In visual art, Goethe's characters, landscapes, and dramatic scenes have been depicted in paintings, illustrations, and engravings. Artists were drawn to the psychological complexity of his figures, the intensity of emotion in works like Werther, and the cosmic, allegorical scope of Faust. His poetry also inspired symbolic and romantic art, emphasizing the connection between human feeling and natural beauty. Music has similarly been influenced by Goethe. Composers such as Franz Schubert, Robert Schumann, and Ludwig van Beethoven set his poems to music, creating lieder that captured the emotional resonance of his verse. Goethe's themes of love, longing, and human struggle translated naturally into song, blending literary artistry with musical expression. The intersection of Goethe's literary vision with other art forms highlights his multi-dimensional creativity. His influence extended to theater, opera, and later multimedia interpretations, demonstrating the universality and adaptability of his ideas. Even modern adaptations in film, digital media, and performance draw on his exploration of emotion, morality, and human aspiration. Through art and music, Goethe's genius transcends the written word. His works provide endless inspiration, proving that literature can spark creativity across multiple mediums, and that his vision of human emotion, moral inquiry, and natural beauty resonates universally.
Goethe's influence on literature extends far beyond his own era, shaping modern writers, thinkers, and literary movements across Europe and the world. His exploration of human nature, emotion, morality, and knowledge has provided a model for intellectual depth and artistic innovation. Writers of the Romantic period, such as Novalis, Eichendorff, and Heine, drew inspiration from Goethe's focus on emotion, individuality, and the natural world. His blending of personal experience with universal insight encouraged a generation of authors to explore the interplay of feeling and reason in their works. Goethe's impact reaches even into the 19th and 20th centuries. Philosophers and novelists, including Nietzsche, Thomas Mann, and Hermann Hesse, engaged with his ideas, themes, and characters. His portrayal of Faust as a seeker of knowledge and meaning influenced existential thought, reflecting the struggles of human aspiration, morality, and self-understanding. Modern poetry and prose also bear Goethe's mark. His use of lyrical language, symbolic imagery, and philosophical reflection inspired writers to blend artistic expression with intellectual inquiry, demonstrating that literature can be both aesthetically rich and morally profound.
Goethe's influence extends far beyond literature, inspiring film, theater, and popular media for over 2 centuries. His stories, themes, and characters continue to resonate, offering timeless insights into human nature, morality, and desire. In theater, Goethe's plays, including Faust, Egmont, and Iphigenia in Taurus, remain staples of the repertoire. Directors and actors reinterpret his works for contemporary audiences, highlighting the emotional depth, moral dilemmas, and philosophical questions that make his dramas universally relevant. In film, adaptations of Goethe's stories explore both the literal narrative and the symbolic themes of his work. Faust has been reimagined in countless movies, ranging from faithful adaptations of the text to modern interpretations that examine temptation, ambition, and human striving in contemporary contexts. Goethe also appears in popular culture, from literature and graphic novels to music and multimedia projects. His characters, moral questions, and exploration of human emotion inspire writers, composers, and creators across genres, demonstrating the universality and adaptability of his vision. Through theater, film, and media, Goethe's work continues to bridge classical themes and modern storytelling, showing that his insights into human behavior, ambition, and morality remain as compelling today as they were in his lifetime. His presence in contemporary culture underscores the enduring power of literature to shape thought, art, and collective imagination.
Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's legacy endures because his work speaks to the timeless concerns of humanity: knowledge, morality, creativity, and the pursuit of meaning. Across literature, science, philosophy, and the arts, Goethe demonstrated a rare ability to explore human experience in its full complexity. Through works like Faust, The Sorrows of Young Werther, and his poetry, Goethe examined the struggles of the human spirit, the tension between desire and responsibility, and the quest for self-understanding. His insights into ambition, love, and moral choice continue to resonate with readers and thinkers today. Goethe's influence also extends to the development of German culture and language. By writing in the vernacular, he helped shape modern German literature, inspiring generations of writers, poets, and intellectuals. His works bridged classical ideals with modern thought, creating a model for art, scholarship, and moral reflection. Beyond literature, Goethe's contributions to science, aesthetics, and philosophy reveal his holistic approach to life. He demonstrated that the pursuit of knowledge, artistic expression, and ethical reflection are interconnected, offering a vision of human potential that remains relevant across centuries. Goethe matters because he exemplifies the power of curiosity, creativity, and moral imagination. His works encourage us to explore the depths of our own experiences, to engage with the natural and cultural world, and to strive toward understanding, beauty, and virtue. His enduring legacy reminds us that great art and thought continue to shape humanity long after their creation.
Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's words have endured for centuries because they capture timeless truths about life, love, creativity, and the human spirit. His insights continue to inspire reflection, courage, and moral inquiry. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. This quote emphasizes action and responsibility, reflecting Goethe's belief that knowledge and intention must translate into meaningful deeds. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Here, Goethe inspires initiative, courage, and the pursuit of dreams, highlighting the transformative power of decisive action. A person hears only what they understand. This reflects Goethe's insight into human perception and the importance of self-awareness in communication and learning. He who moves not forward goes backward. Goethe reminds us of the necessity of growth, progress, and continual striving in life, personally and professionally. Daring ideas are like chessmen moved forward. They may be beaten, but they may start a winning game. A call to embrace creativity and innovation, acknowledging the risks and rewards of pursuing bold ideas. Through these and countless other lines, Goethe speaks across centuries. His words inspire readers to think deeply, act boldly, and pursue knowledge, virtue, and creativity. They serve as ethical, philosophical, and motivational guideposts, showing that the insights of a single mind can influence generations and continue to shape human thought and culture.